Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. I'm just popping on here live. I have just a real quick video I wanted to do that came from my morning stack this morning. And that is the path that scares you the most is the path that you should walk. And so I was just thinking about this about when I first left the fire department to where I am now and part of my journey and making that decision to leave the fire department was the only career that I had ever known. And there was a lot of fear within that decision. And so a lot of times what we do is we justify our decisions based on emotions. And a lot of times we let fear, it causes us to detour another way away from that path. And so that's part of my mission is to help those identify that path for themselves. So let me tell you a story. So when I was still debating to leave the fire department, I just knew within me that it was no longer for me. Like it was just like I knew it was time to leave. So having that conversation was one of the hardest conversations I had to have with my wife because our son was like a year and a half at the time, our oldest son, Odin. And at that time, I was bringing in the majority of the income. I had the health benefits. I had all of those things. And so making that decision was difficult. And it was trying. I was being tested and I was being pushed to go to the direction that I felt inside that I knew I needed to go. And if you just think of that situation, like coming to my wife saying, hey, I know you've been on this journey with me this whole time, and I know this is what provides for our family, but I think I need to leave. Like that's heavy and that's deep. And it was difficult to have that conversation, but like I've said before, my wife has always backed my decisions. And so as a woman that was standing with her man, not just because she was my wife, but because she knew that's what I needed to do. Like she knew that was the next step for us. So had I decided not to have that conversation, not to listen to what I was feeling inside, who knows what would have happened? Who knows if I would have continued down that journey and, put my health in a situation beyond repair or, even worse, right? And so that's the thing, guys, is oftentimes we have no comprehension on what is on the other side of that fear. Like, consider that for a moment. Like, if you're wrestling with something that is fucking heavy and is not easy to talk about and scares the living fuck out of you, then you need to go to a place to explore that. You can't run from it. So that was part of my stack this morning was the path that scares you the most is the path that you need to follow. Because when you feel that fear, something is telling you you should go that way. And a lot of times we have it backwards. We have it flipped. When you feel that fear, you try and retract and get away from it because that is part of our nature. But what I found in my life is I need to run to those places. When it makes me feel that thing inside, I need to go to it. Because every time that I have, it's never as bad as I made it up in my mind. So I read my boys this book, or we've read it, quite a bit the past few years. I think it was Jocko's book, but it's called Mikey and the Dragons. And it's a fantastic book. If you have young kids, you need to get this book because what it teaches kids is they make up this fear in their head a lot. So it's about this story named Mikey who lives in a kingdom, and like off in the distance are these dragons that the kingdom knows live there, right? And so, everybody's fearful of these dragons, and even though they don't see them, they see them off in the distance. They don't see them up close. They're fearful of them. They don't want to, basically, be anywhere near these dragons, but they know they're there. And so what Mikey does through a series of a bunch of other things is he is now put in charge because the king dies and he has to go slay these dragons. And he's so fearful because everybody around him tells him, yo, those dragons, blah, blah, blah. But he is now the son of the king and he must go and slay these dragons. So he's scared. He feels that fear. And so what he does is he mans up and he goes to slay the dragons. And what he finds is when he gets to the dragon's lair, what he finds is that the dragons are little baby dragons. And then he comes back to the kingdom and everybody thinks he's a hero and all this stuff. But the point of the book, the children's book, this is why it's so fantastic, is he moved past his fear of slaying these dragons. And the images and the feelings, the emotions that he made up in his head was not reality. Because when he went to the fear, when he went to the dragon lair, he found out that his biggest fears that he had were false. They weren't factual. So anytime my kids have a situation that they're fearful of something or they're trying to work through something, we bring up this story. And we always say, do you remember Mikey and the dragons? Do you remember that story? And we have them tell it back to us and we relate that situation to them. Because that's the thing, guys. I'm trying to teach my sons that, yes, you're going to have fear. You're going to have these emotions. But you cannot make up these false things in your head. Because if you do, you'll never do anything. You'll never run into the fire. So it's a fantastic kids book. It was so well written for kids. And I highly encourage you, if you have kids, get this book, Mikey and the Dragons. I think it was Jocko Willink that wrote it, but that's how I'm raising my boys. Is I'm teaching them to run into fear. When they are fearful, I'm trying to get them to a place where they feel like they can step into it and not run from it. Because even as adults, how many times have we ran away from fear? A lot. I know a lot of people, myself included, that we don't do things that we know we're supposed to do because of our fear. I could have never left the fire department because I was so fucking fearful of taking that step. Going, yep, I'm going to give up my income. I'm going to give up my insurance. I'm going to close out my 401k, and I'm going to go do something that scares the living shit out of me. But I did it with my queen at my side, my son at my feet, and now look at me. That was over 7 years ago, and I would not trade it, not one day, not 1 hour, for what I have now. I get people that ask me all the time. I actually just got asked last week. The fire department came into our business, and I knew the guy's boss. He was a good friend of mine. I worked hand in hand with him. He's like, do you ever miss not being at the fire department? And I have not missed it one fucking day. Not one day for this life that I live now, in the present. So today got a big family day. We're watching the Buffs. We're a big Buff family. It's nice to see those guys face adversity and come through it. Hopefully they can get the job done. But I get to live the life I want to live. I am as free as I think I am. So, enjoying this holiday weekend with my family. We're going to go to Jurassic World Live today and go look at some dinosaurs. My boys have always been into dinosaurs, so we've had this plan for months, and so we're going to go do that. And all I can say, guys, if you're fearful of something, if something is scaring you, you need to explore it deeper. You need to explore why it scares you. And I would have you consider that that's the path you need to follow. So anyway, guys, hope you guys have a fantastic holiday weekend. I will plan to go live again tomorrow. But for the meantime, everybody have a blessed and safe holiday weekend. See you guys.